Simon. Sorry. Say it so
Simon.
aggressively. Simon Crafts is a poet living in San Francisco and a bookseller at Alley Cat Books. He is an MFA student at San Francisco State University. Duh. It's in parentheses. His work has been featured in Quiet Lightning, Elderly Magazine, and is forthcoming in Cipactli.
Hey everybody. I don't really, I'll stay away from the microphones, okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Laura and Gavin and Isayo, and thanks for everybody who read previously. Yeah, thanks for listening to me. So I mostly just do short poems. I haven't really mastered the long form yet, so I'm just going to do that. It's going to be like a marathon. There's not that many though. I didn't want to scare you. That year, I received a confrontational haircut. It was by accident, but I loved it. It complemented the zeitgeist. It counterpointed the headline. Our troubles were fashionable. My fashion was troublesome. The millennium was waxing. The music was good enough. I wanted to create things that were amusing. Amusing in a Frank O'Hara way, which is not to say funny. I believed a revolution could be amusing. How 21st century to think so? A century that required more than I was giving, but at least I was armed, though I didn't know it at the time. My mistaken head screaming now, like a firework, like a gunshot. So I'm not always like really sure what's called. I don't have good titles yet, but they're just like these slacker poetics, because I try not to think too hard about what they are or what they mean. Which is always sort of the goal, actually. Like, the less thinking I feel like, the better, for me at least. So I have like a bunch of them, but they're kind of strange. They're like advice too, bad advice, basically. Do as little possible for the most possible. Do not kill yourself, but not for anyone else's sake. There are plenty of nice people in the world. You do not have to be one of them. Never let anyone tell you the holidays are for anything but money. Eventually, capitalism will collapse, possibly not within your lifetime. Until then, error is essential, intention is death, manifestos are bullshit, and persist shall be the whole of the law. People poem. A Marxist materialist. That's a cool thing to identify as at a party. Where people watch people beat people up on the bus, on TV, and cell phones. They're happy doing that. So what are we talking about exactly? If every poem is a manifesto, maybe we have enough manifestos? I don't think that's true, but it feels good to say it. How often do you get to say you have enough of anything? I would like the pleasure of that to be a politic. Speaking of revolutions, remember Roque Dalton wrote mostly love poems. I just try to keep that in mind, and the nobility of a face as it slackens. Someone's teetering on the verge of sleep, on the bus, late at night, coming home from work. Everyone manages to look graceful once in a while. I would like the pleasure of that to be a politic. So what are we talking about exactly? Remember, Roque Dalton wrote mostly love poems. Okay, so here's another one of these slacker poetics things. Like my interludes. You're the oldest and youngest you'll ever be. From here, things will only get harder. Accept the fact you'll die young, and you'll live much longer than is flattering. That's how things go. So try to give people something to discuss when you leave the room. Take your inspiration from bad dreams, the light in your yard, the dirt in your hands. Because if you hadn't had time, what have you had? And if you don't make time, what do you make? Keep in mind your shit is the same shape as your insides. Okay, so this one's like a prototype. I'm taking it on my test flight on you guys. I'm sorry. So after the whole Trump thing, there's like endless, the ongoing Trump thing. There's like so much to say, but there's also like so little to say. It just felt like trying to write directly after it, I was like, oh, I have to like shift. There's so much more noise and everything that was sort of like subliminal that I feel like I was writing at or poetry is trying to do, because it's like buried, had become so surface that it didn't feel like it just changed the dynamic of sort of like what you're listening to when you're trying to find a poem. And I found it really difficult to write for like a month and a half. And I'm trying to get back into it, but this was sort of during that period the only thing that I was working on, and it's kind of a mess, but I think I can file it down to something decent, but I sort of have to feel it out in a public place, I think, for a while. So it's called Make America Great Again. I get it. It's hard to find new ideas. It's liberating to say all I know. It's important we find a substantive way to talk about nothing, because we've mostly all got nothing in spades, but no time to talk. So I've decided to begin shoplifting to supplement our discourse. And I wonder what our arguments prove, except that people believe things and that people disagree. I've cooked without ambition. I've gotten drunk in a bomb shelter. I spent lifetimes waiting for the next showtime. And if there's anything more sexy than tautology, I haven't found it yet. I've looked at the Walgreens. I've stood and stared at the toothpaste for hours, trying to decide which is the best choice for me, which is the best choice of me. Meanwhile, I was being digested. I was being diagnosed by the news, by a narrative, endlessly masticated. And despite all this, I still had to wait in line. It felt flatter and fatter there. I couldn't find myself in the corner convex mirror. And I didn't donate $1 because I shouldn't have to. There are still no classes teaching the literature of terrorism. I checked. And is terrorist synonymous with unemployed yet? Wait, and it will be. Yet the literature of the unemployed is the only kind worth reading. So I guess it's time to arm our book clubs, to practice intransigence at the turnstile, to ask the bus driver where we're going every single morning until he too begins to wonder. And I refuse to taste the difference between spearmint and peppermint. When asked, Coke or Pepsi, the answer is RC Cola. Stones or Beatles, the answer is Kinks. Today or tomorrow, the answer is never or right away. And in fact, the best answer is always no answer at all. It's silence and a look around any given room, any given day. If you see something, say something. Try to decide who there would narc you out. For $100, for $50, for $10. The lower the amount, the worse we've got it. The lower the amount, the closer we are. Real plans for real people. There's nothing else on television. There's nothing else anywhere. It's just hard to hear. The news has gotten loud. It has to compete with the pop song, with the celebrity dog walker, with $220 million of ego armed with light and sound and exceptionalism. No one should be president who has never ridden a bus. No one should be president who has never waited in line at Safeway. No one should be president. But here we are, so what should I do? Should I join a political party no one has heard of? Should I learn to build a bomb? Should I make America great again? I think so. To save America from the disappointing contours of nationhood, to pull it back from the brink of articulation. For the future, a kinder, gentler nation, I'm going to hold a gun to its head. I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the future. When the stakes are too high for you to stay at home. Change we can believe in, progress we can fall in love to. Change we need, forward. All right. So, I think I got two more. This is another slacker thing. Keep in mind, not everyone is always looking at you, but someone could always be watching you. History and the past are two different things. Conspiracy theories are now an apparatus of the state. Revolution and the apocalypse, it could be the same thing. Safety is a nice way to say control. Legal is a nice way to say safe. Narrative is an enemy, tyrant is the liberal, and stability has betrayed us. No more nations, but not within your lifetime. This constructive ambiguity, arguing the finer points of the apocalypse while the apocalypse occurs. There will be no more arguing. Make your art a match for your times. The internet is just bad television. Talking about politics like breathing about air. There will be no more arguing. And I got one final one. People swim thickly inside themselves. The soul cannot be lost, only obscured. Whistling is the song of no one going nowhere when it is sung to nobody in particular. But everyone agrees we are seeing something in decline. Despite this, there's no need for bumper stickers expressing unpopular opinions. The weather's just been bad in your brain lately, and meanwhile someone dreams of math equations. They resolve perfectly. They fit exactly into the envelopes they arrived in. Keep in mind, the entire work of a day can be leaving the bed and then navigating her to return through your day to that same bed. Some days that's the most you can do. Some days it's the least.